Hello and welcome to this review of Paperball Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch, which at the time of this video releasing isn't actually out yet and releases on March the 25th, although it is currently available on PC. So then I hear you ask, how am I playing this game if it technically isn't out yet? Well, the fine folks at Cliax Games actually sent me a longer review copy so I could play the game early and make a video about it. So I just want to say a big thank you to them for allowing me to play the game early. But why am I so excited to give this game a go? Well, let's dive into it. Some of you might be aware of how I've recently reviewed every single main series Super Monkey Ball game after I kind of became obsessed with them. The only issue is that now I've run out of games to cover in the series, I've had a severe lack of ball rolling in my life. So to solve that, in comes Paperball Deluxe. This is a game which is clearly extremely inspired by the original Super Monkey Ball games released on the GameCube, but that's been created with some more modern design elements to make it feel distinct as its own entity. The deluxe part of Paperball Deluxe refers to the fact that the Nintendo Switch version includes the 3 DLC packs from the original PC release, bringing the level count up to a whopping 250 stages. Just to put that in context, that's more levels than what's featured in any singular Super Monkey Ball game outside of Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. And even then, the only reason Super Monkey Ball Deluxe has so many levels is because it was the first 2 GameCube games combined. So it's pretty incredible that an indie game like this actually exceeds the content found within the games developed by Sega. It's all well and good having 250 stages, but are any of them actually any good? Well, yeah. They are. I'm not even going to pretend otherwise. But before we get into that, let's talk about the basics first. On a surface level, Paperball Deluxe plays exactly the same as a standard Monkey Ball game. You use the left analog stick to tilt the stage, which moves a ball around an obstacle course, and the objective is to reach a goal as quickly as possible. Paperball Deluxe has some subtle differences from Super Monkey Ball though, which I think makes the game significantly more accessible, while also not removing any sense of challenge either. An example of this is how rather than being on a strict time limit which counts down and fails you upon reaching 0, Paperball opts to instead have a timer that counts up, therefore never failing you for taking your time. But it still does incentivize speed by giving you a different medal depending on how fast you go. Another way the game is more accessible is that instead of having lives and continues which eventually kick you out of the game and make you start again if you lose them all, Paperball instead registers your total deaths but doesn't punish you for racking them up. Rather, it incentivizes you to try and go through the game falling off of the stages as little as possible by giving you a challenge after you've completed a specific difficulty for the first time. So for example, after finishing the novice difficulty, it'll say, can you do it again dying 5 times or less? The thing is with these differences is that they're effectively achieving the exact same thing as the mechanics in Super Monkey Ball, right? Like, the objective is still to go as quickly as possible while losing as few lives as you can, but it's the fact that Super Monkey Ball penalises you for messing up, while Paperball rewards you for doing well, and that's a key difference, and it's one that I think makes the game a lot more accessible to newcomers. Another difference, which seems small but actually ends up making a pretty significant change to how you play the game, is that you have full control over the camera by moving the right analog stick, even when you're moving. Some of the Super Monkey Ball games allowed you to move the camera like this too, for example Banana Splits for the Vita, however you could only do this when your ball was completely still, rendering it a little bit useless. With Paperball though, you feel like you have quite a lot more control over the ball by using the camera to your advantage, and it actually allows you to turn corners and do 180 spins a lot faster than in Super Monkey Ball. Not to mention that this also allows you to look around the levels and get your bearings a lot easier too. Again, this is a simple change made to Super Monkey Ball, but it's one that really does make the experience that little bit much more unique. So yeah, Paperball has the basics nailed. The controls are great, you can fully control the camera, and there's the extra element added into the game in the way that it has a modern design philosophy which rewards the player rather than penalising them. But As we all know, a ball rolling game like this is made or broken by its level design and level variety. I am so happy to report to you that the level design in Paperball is incredible. I'm not even kidding, some of these levels stand toe to toe with the best levels from the original Super Monkey Ball games. I was not expecting this at all going into it, and it seriously blew me away. Some levels are about balance, some are about advanced ball control, and some feature some more gimmicky elements which make them stand out from the other stages. Some of these gimmicks are straight up taken from Super Monkey Ball, but not in a bad way, more in a loving way that feels very respectful. Like for example, there's this level where you move seesaws by rolling from left to right to affect its balance. There's this level where you need to get hit by a moving block to push you up a big vertical ramp. And there's even a level with these moving wheels that you need to get inside of, which is straight from Banana Blitz. That isn't to say that it doesn't also have gimmicks of its own though, because it has these platforms that break under your weight, forcing you to move as quickly as possible while maintaining accuracy. There's this level where there's some holes that you'll fall straight through, and some which have a sort of clear film over them which you can roll straight over, so you really need to pay attention to your environments. And there's this level where there's these platforms which will slowly disappear and turn invisible, forcing you to sort of memorise the patterns and where they'll be at certain times. I won't go through every single gimmick here, after all I do want you to experience the game for yourself, but there's lots of them, and what's impressive here is that I swear that each gimmick is only used in 1 or 2 stages, so it really makes each level that uses a particular gimmick stand out. It's awesome, and it shows that the developer had a ton of unique ideas for the levels. Seriously, the variety here is through the roof. Even the levels that don't really feature a specific gimmick per se are still really good. And plus, they're super challenging too, which is so nice to see after some of the more recent Super Monkey Ball games became far too overly simplistic. Paperball goes for the same level design style as the original 2 Super Monkey Ball games, with abstract designs that sometimes move and affect the momentum of the ball, which opens up lots of advanced movement possibilities. I bet speedruns of this game look absolutely nuts, and there's bound to be loads of ways to take shortcuts by using the game's physics to your advantage. There's even some longer and more open, maze-like level designs which I really enjoyed because this isn't something that we saw all too often in the actual Super Monkey Ball games. Don't get me wrong, it did happen every now and then, but it never felt like it was a focus. Whereas here in Paperball, there's actually quite a few of these more explorative levels, which are better here as well because like I said earlier, you aren't technically on a strict time limit unless you choose to go for the medals. I know I've almost been talking about Paperball as if it's a Super Monkey Ball game, rather than a game in its own right, but I'm hoping that speaks to the sheer quality of Paperball. It's literally better than most of the Super Monkey Ball games, so I feel like that sort of validates my constant comparison between Paperball and Super Monkey Ball. With Paperball being developed by an indie team, which according to the credits seems to mostly consist of a single person called DJ Coco, it doesn't include any minigames like the Super Monkey Ball games do. Now, this might result in you thinking that there's a lack of content to be found outside of the arcade mode of the game that we've talked about so far, but you'd be very wrong to think that. Outside of the arcade mode, we have Rush Mode, Medal Mode, Mad Shuffle, Blitz Mode, Practice, Multiplayer, and Flip Mode. That's a hell of a lot of modes. Practice Mode is self-explanatory. It's a mode where you pick any level you've unlocked and play through it without time pressure, so that you can develop a method of completing it as fast or efficiently as possible. It's an important mode not to be overlooked, but it's not all that riveting to talk about. Rush Mode, though, is really interesting. You know how old arcade-style racing games had that mode where you were on a time limit and reaching checkpoints around the tracks gave you more time, and the objective was to basically race for as long as possible without the time running out? Well, Rush Mode is similar to that. Here you have a 2-minute time limit to complete a whole difficulty setting. However, the faster you do each stage, the more bonus time gets added onto the timer. So it's a mode that rewards fast and consistent play across loads of levels. It basically brings back the time limit from Super Monkey Ball, but across every level rather than having a singular timer for each individual level. Medal mode is a similar concept, but it's more about how quickly you can go in each individual level rather than a whole set of them. So here you pick a single level to play and you need to get the best medal possible by going as quickly as you can. And trust me, this is pretty darn hard. You need to pretty much get perfect runs on some of these to achieve the gold medals, and it's a really good challenge. I can't imagine how difficult some of the later levels would be on this mode. The Mad Shuffle mode is cool because it basically randomizes a selection of levels across different difficulties, so you aren't playing them in the same order as you are in all of the other modes of the game. In this mode you could go from a DLC level to a novice level to an expert level and then back to a DLC level all in a row. It's a good way of mixing things up so you don't know what to expect. Blitz mode is quite easy to explain because it's basically just a mode where you can jump. Wait a minute. Blitz mode. I see what they did there. Jumping in a game designed around not being able to jump is pretty interesting, and it can make certain levels ridiculously easy, whereas some are actually made more difficult if you become overly reliant on it. It's not really a mode I would play a ton, but it's definitely really cool to see it included here as an optional extra, and it might be good for people who want the game to be a bit easier. Plus, I really like the reference to Banana Blitz, that didn't go unnoticed. And now we get to two of my favourite modes featured in the entire game. I would literally recommend Paperball just based on these two modes alone because of how fun they are and how much they change the game. And they are, of course, the multiplayer mode and flip mode. The multiplayer and flip modes are both focused on the idea of simultaneous two-player action. The multiplayer mode is competitive and has both players racing to complete a set of levels within a difficulty bracket as quickly as possible, with the first player getting 6,000 points, which then starts a minute countdown for the second player to finish the course in. The faster they finish the course, the more points they get. So if they finish with 50 seconds on the timer, they'll get 5,000 points, whereas running out of time will earn 0. There was a mode similar to this in the very first Super Monkey Ball game, however it was nowhere near this good. You could only play a set of 5 levels in a row and not an entire difficulty of levels like in Paperball, and as soon as the first player reached the goal, it would automatically move to the next level regardless of where the second player was. With Paperball though, both players have an opportunity to finish every level, which makes it way more fun, and the scoring system makes things way more competitive and interesting too. The one thing I would have liked to have seen added to this mode is the option to pick between vertical or horizontal split screen. At the moment it's locked to vertical, which removes a lot of your peripheral vision, which makes certain levels harder than they would normally be. But this isn't a big deal really. Oh, and also, I think that maybe when the first player reaches the goal and finishes the level, the second player's screen should expand so they get to play using the whole screen, because really, there's no reason for half of the screen to be cut off after the first person finishes. But again, this is a small detail that's hardly worth bringing up, and it doesn't affect the enjoyment of this mode at all. Flip mode is a cooperative multiplayer option, which is actually kind of a hybrid of simultaneous and turn-based. The way this works is that you go through a series of levels just like usual, but every couple of seconds the control will shift between the two players, which forces you to communicate between each other, or else you'll end up trying to go in different directions and fall off of platforms. While this might sound like a strange idea at first, it's actually really fun and it makes the levels way more interesting because you have to sort of adapt on the fly to each person's different playstyles. While I am still waiting for one of these ball rolling games with a full-on proper co-op mode where you each need to traverse levels and reach goals by working together, these multiplayer options offered by Paperball are easily the best we've ever seen in any Super Monkey Ball game. And this isn't even Super Monkey Ball. Seriously, if you enjoy the multiplayer offerings for the main game in Super Monkey Ball, you need to get Paperball, because its focus on multiplayer is way greater than anything from the Super Monkey Ball series. So yeah, Paperball is a must-buy game if you're a fan of Super Monkey Ball, and if you aren't a fan of that series but the gameplay looks interesting to you, then Paperball is a good place to start to get you into the genre. A few people have commented on my videos asking if I would recommend Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD, as it's the only game in that series currently available on modern systems, and I've always sort of reluctantly had to say yes, just because it is the only one available. But now, there's a better option out there with Paperball Deluxe. If you want to play a game that's much more in line with the original two Super Monkey Ball games, then Paperball is the game for you. Now that's all well and good, but that isn't to say that Paperball is absolutely perfect. For one thing, it's a little bit disappointing how there's very little to unlock in the game to get a sense of progression. There's an achievement list to fill in for doing loads of optional stuff, which is nice, but at the same time unlocking the achievements doesn't actually do anything outside of ticking something on a list. There's also a ton of skins and colours to customise the look of your ball, which is seriously incredible, and I don't want to take away from that, because that's literally something that I've been wanting from the Super Monkey Ball series, and it's actually finally here in Paperball. However, I think it's a little bit weird how you don't have to unlock any of the colours or skins, they're all just available from the off. I think it would have been more rewarding to have unlocked these by actually playing the game and maybe finding collectibles in the levels or something. But there's actually no collectibles at all in the levels, which can have the effect of them sometimes feeling a little bit empty. It was always a nice little extra challenge to try and get all of the bananas in Super Monkey Ball, and some of the later entries even had hidden bananas to find too, but there's nothing like that in Paperball, unfortunately. Don't get me wrong, it's not like you don't unlock anything by playing the game. You do unlock the harder difficulties by first clearing the earlier difficulties, so there is a certain amount of progression here, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more focus being put on the sense of reward you get. There's also the fact that while the visual style of Paperball is pretty good, with everything having this consistent theme of the levels being crafted out of cardboard and the ball being made out of paper, it just doesn't come close to matching the character and detail found within the actual Super Monkey Ball games. I do like the fact that the visuals are tied together with a bit of story though. The story in the background is that all of the courses have been created by a cat named Coco, who is creating them as a part of her art project for school using the theme of recycling. That's nice to see, and it does give the game a sort of mascot character, although we don't really see them very often. Adding to this, I also kinda found that the music wasn't quite as memorable or interesting as it was in the original Super Monkey Ball games. But let's be honest, this is an indie game created by a very small team on a way smaller budget than what Super Monkey Ball has ever had. So you can't expect it to match a Sega game in these areas. The massive appeal of these types of games has always been the gameplay, and Paperball exceeds in this area. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's even better than the game series that inspired it. And I do want to just clarify as well here that it's not that the music or graphics are bad, it's just that they aren't as good as Super Monkey Ball's, which might seem like an unfair comparison, but as I've already said, I feel like the constant comparison between Super Monkey Ball and Paperball is justified, considering the quality presented in Paperball. There's also a lack of online functions, like there's no online leaderboards or online multiplayer, but to be honest, I don't really mind this too much. I do think it's a little bit weird how you don't input your name on the local leaderboards though. That means that if a friend came over and beat all of your scores, there would be nothing to determine which score is theirs and which is yours. But yeah, at this point I'm seriously nitpicking. There's lots of little details that I love that I've not even mentioned as well, like the fact that you can just press a single button to instantly restart any level you're on, and you also have the option to use motion controls to play the game Banana Blitz style. Then there's also a couple of more negative things that I've not talked about, like the fact that a few levels like to frequently drop frames, but this is hardly worth bringing up because it does only happen in a couple of really specific levels, and I imagine that the game will be patched to fix this anyway. But of course, another massive positive about the game that I've not talked about yet is the fact that it's on the Switch, meaning that you can play it in handheld mode and take it wherever you go. If this was a proper Super Monkey Ball game, it would easily by a mile be the best portable entry in the entire series. For the sake of showing you just how highly I regard this game, I'm gonna revisit my Super Monkey Ball series ranking and give Paperball Deluxe a guest spot in 4th place. The only reason it's not quite as good as the original 2 games, and by extension Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, is due to them being more polished visually and musically, and them having mini-games which offers way more variety outside of the main game. But honestly, Paperball Deluxe comes exceptionally close to matching the quality of those original games, and if Sega doesn't know what to do with the Super Monkey Ball series, I honestly think they should just let Cliax Games have a shot at it. Throw money at them, give them creative control, and give them all of the assets they need, and I'm sure they could make the best Super Monkey Ball game that we've ever seen. But either way, you can bet that I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for Cliax Games, regardless of that. I would 100% be up for Cliax Games to create the Sonic Mania of Super Monkey Ball though. That would be incredible to see. And that's Paperball Deluxe. It's so nice when you get a game where you go into it with reasonably high expectations, but then the game surprises you and just blows past those expectations and is even better than you imagined. The controls, the modern design elements, the amount of stages, the amount of modes, and the fact that it's on the Nintendo Switch make this a must-play for anybody who's a fan of Super Monkey Ball, or anybody that's looking to get into that series but can't due to not owning any older systems. It's just great, and I don't really know what more to say. So with that, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to see more stuff like this coming soon, and leave a comment down below letting me know if you're gonna get Paperball, and if you've already got it, what you think about it. And, until next time, bye!